Good evening, everyone. Sorry that I rescheduled the live discussion. I know originally it was Tuesday, but I was emotionally not ready for a live discussion for Tuesday, so I decided to move it to today. So I understand if you can't attend because I've changed it so many times. But tonight, talking about the Jasad Heir by Sarah Hashem. This book came out last year. And before, like, I picked this book for last month, I was trying to see, like, do some research on people's reviews, whether they was gonna, if they loved it or hated it, and I found out there's a lot of mixed reviews about this particular book. This is a debut author, so this was her debut book, so I also kept that in mind as I was reading it. Um, I'm gonna let y'all know, like, I rated it a 3 out of 5 stars. Um, Sorry, y'all. Um, but yeah, so this is a debut author, so I kept that in mind. I did rate this book, and thought as I finished the book and I thought about it after reading it and also listening to the audio, I gave it a 3 out of 5 stars. I had a hard time with it. I don't know if it was how it was written, the story. I don't know. I felt some disconnect. I didn't really get to connect with the character as I would want in the book. I usually find a connection. Hey, Elises. Elises, I know you mentioned that it sort of reminds you of Palestine, which yeah, it does. It definitely does, especially with we have these different cities and they come together to pretty much dominate another city and to pretty much commit genocide. That's pretty much what they did to the Jasadi, or Jasadi, excuse me. And so I will say when I started reading this book, it seemed to be very slow in pace. Um, I was not. Hey, Bree. I'm a high fantasy person, as y'all all know. Like, we mostly read fantasy, and this was unlike anything. Like, I liked the premise of the story, but I think it could have been executed better, if that makes sense. There was moments when, like, I didn't read the book physically. There's times where I listened to the audio and I like got lost because it was jumping from a lot of. It seemed like it was jumping everywhere. One minute I'm like, okay, she's here. She's trying to keep her identity hidden. She's known as Sylvia, um, and she's pretty much been surviving. She was surviving, by herself for like 5 years or whatever. Um, After the city, the Jasad city was pretty much in shambles, and it was taken over. So I was like, okay, we already know about this girl. We already know, like, oh, the Jasad heir. So we automatically think, like, okay, it's talking about her. But here we see 3 stars. Agree with not being able to connect with main character. We were being told instead of showing us pacing was off. Yes, it was definitely off. It had its moments where I'm like, okay, it's really slow. And then, all right, we're now at the point where it seemed to get better, if that makes sense. But then it took a turn, and I don't think it was the best turn. I didn't read the book, just here for the tea. Yeah, for us that read a lot of fantasy, I don't know if this was it for me. Um, I'm honestly debating if I want to even read the next book, to be quite honest with you. It's like we were having a history lesson, which was fine. We were learning about the Jasadi people. And then we were learning about Essia, which is her real name. We soon figure out who she is, which, I mean, it was sort of obvious. And that, and then she was in hiding. And then we had the heir of Nazal, Aaron, come into the picture, and I get he sensed her magic. So the Jasadi, they were people with magic, and there's a lot of things that Essia or Sylvia didn't know about regarding why did it happen? Why was her people pretty much assassinated? Why was her entire family assassinated? Um, I felt like there was some missing pieces in this book, and I think it wasn't very clear. Let's see. Yes, it kept pulling me in and then taking me out, and I sort of got bored. And there was a point in time where I was just listening to the audio, and then I wasn't listening, so I had to go back. And then I'm like, okay, I really didn't miss much, you know. Um, I feel like the author, I don't know. I think the structure was missing. That's what it was missing. It says positive. The world absolutely felt magical. Yes, the world definitely felt magical, but I wanted to get to know more about the character, about Sylvia or Essia. And then it had these random moments of romance in it, which I don't know if that's what this book needed. Um, I think that it was like a filler. So you have Aaron, the heir of Nizal, and then you have Essia, who is the Jasad heir. And they have these moments of intimacy, but it was weird. In my head, I'm like, it wasn't really necessary. Like, they are enemies. You do not have to have a romance necessarily. Maybe she felt like, ooh, because some people felt like this was considered, or they felt like this was going to be a romantasy, but it was not. It's not romantasy. It's just fantasy. But I don't know, y'all. It just wasn't hitting like I wanted it to. Like, especially when Nazal, so they have these trials, the Aklama trials, I believe. I don't think I'm saying it correctly. And the heir of Nazal chose Essia or Sylvia, because he sensed her powers, but he was also trying to help her hone into her powers. And usually with honing their powers, it has to deal with like misery and sorrow, it seems, like a lot of bad memories. And I feel like when she was honing into her magic, certain memories were coming into play. And we have the girl named, like I said, this book is all over the place. Like, there's no type of structure. So we were learning different, we were jumping from characters to characters to characters, not really getting to know each character and their background. It was just a hop right in, and that was it. Um, I really wanted to know more about this world too, like an elaborate description. But I feel like it was missing. It says, yeah, during the sprints I mentioned in pieces, it was great, but as a whole, it was not great. The execution was off. Yes, it was off, and I really wanted to love this book, and I couldn't do it. Like I see where the author was heading. I get that. But there's a lot of things that could have been improved. Like I said, I kept it in mind. Like, I gave it a 3 out of 5 stars because I also kept it in mind that she is a debut author as well. This is her first book. And I think there's a lot of improvement. I'm not sure if I'll read the second book. Maybe I will. Maybe we shall see. But it didn't make me want to, like, oh, let me get another one. The next book, I gotta see what happens, type of deal. You know what I mean? But anyways, so as the heir Nizal finds out about Essia, he proclaims her as his champion or whatever. Hold up, I got notes. I had to take notes because it was all over the place where I had to, like, physically had to write down stuff. And yeah. So it was a lot going on in that book where it was jumping from one thing to another. The flow was not flowing. It was rocky. Right. Nothing flowed. I got all sorts of confused during the task or the challenges. I don't even know what they were called. It was the tournament. Yeah, they were considered trials or whatever. And I was trying to figure out, okay, what is the point of this? Because they're going to figure out she's a Jasad. So they're automatically going to kill her. Even though we had Soraya, who was like a friend to her and a friend of her family at one point. And we find out that her grandparents, like Essia's grandparents, killed Soraya's father. And I guess they were mining, Essia's grandparents were mining his magic out of him, if that makes sense. I think that's what I was getting when I read it. Let me know if I was wrong, Ulysses. But that's what it seemed like. They were taking the power, sucking the power out of him, and then he died. So she's been on a rampage for vengeance. She's like, I don't give a crap, if we were friends or whatever. No, I'm here for blood. So there's been a lot of attempts of killing Essia throughout this book, I feel. And I still don't know why there was these tournaments or the trials or whatever. I'm literally still trying to figure that out. Let me see. Hold on. I'm trying to look at my notes, y'all. But yeah, the Alcala. That's what it was called. Aaron declared Essia as the chosen one as the champion for the Alcala, which is Nizal's champion or whatever. And I guess the whole point of it was for Aaron saying that if you, he made a deal with her saying that if she finishes the trials and she becomes the victor, that she will live in peace and she will be free. I think that was the terms, even though I'm like, people were always going to come for her because they're going to know who she is. She's the Jasad heir, and she's too powerful, right? She has this powerful magic, so she's already a threat. So I just find it okay. You promise her this, but it doesn't seem realistic. And then we know more, and then to come to find out, it made me want. I was confused. I was wondering if I even liked the main character because of stuff that was happening. Because as these trials were occurring, I felt like we were sort of getting to know more about Sylvia, but and then Soraya came into the picture, and Soraya broke down like, oh, so you just concealed, or you just pretty much don't remember everything that you had done. And I'm thinking to myself, like, oh my gosh, like Soraya was spilling tea when it came to Essia and who she truly was during that time when Jasad was pretty much still running and still flourishing. Like she mentioned that Essia, hold on. Like she broke a girl's arm for not climbing a tree with her. Yeah, Essia broke a girl's arm. And I'm like, okay, who is the villain here? Like, wait a minute. What? And I guess Essia didn't remember that because she wasn't trying to use her magic. Otherwise, she would be identified, right? So I feel like as she was concealing her magic, she was also concealing the past and trying to forget about everything that happened. So literally, as I'm talking about this book and jumping from this to this to this, that's how the book is formed. Like, that's how the book is formed. It goes one thing to another, and it's not a smooth transition at all. So, yep. Right. They were siphoning the magic from him. Mm-hmm. And everyone always found her out. Right. Always. I did love the banter, though. Her responses were quick and sassy. Yes. I will say that's a pro. Mm-hmm. I just try to figure out what the book is about, like the plot. I honestly thought it was a YA romance. Like it's not. No, it's not YA. It's adult, and it's not romance. There was nothing romantic about it, in my opinion. And the romance that she did put in it, it just wasn't it for me. It wasn't needed. I think that's why a lot of people were reading this because of the romance, because the marketing, it made it seem like it was a romantasy. There was nothing romantasy about it. It's just fantasy. Holy crap, the way they described that event was so creepy. Yes. This is like the evil child. Right. And it was rated G. Mm-hmm. So in my head, I'm like, okay, I understand why Soraya is coming for Essia. Like Essia obviously was a terrible person. Maybe she's not now, but I'm sorry. If you did that type of shit to me or whatever, yeah, I'm gonna come for you. Ooh, her past was dark, and all of it was coming into light as she was doing these trials. And I don't know. I think she was also trying to decide if she really was going to. I don't know. I don't think she wants to be the Jasad heir. I feel like she didn't want to really see the past, and now that she knows more about her family, about her father, her mother, her grandparents, I feel like that scared her even more into wanting to be the Jasad heir, right? The only Jasad heir. So I don't know. It was just, this book was up and down. But I made some notes on certain quotes. Like on page 343, it says, "As heirs, we inherit the enemies and debts of our fathers," which that is true. And then another one on 357 says, "When you choose who you are willing to fight for, you choose who you are." So she was trying to find herself this entire book as well. And she was trying to decide if she's Sylvia or if she's Essia. So I think she was also confused within herself. It was nominated for Romantasy and Goodreads. It's not romantic. It was poor romance in my opinion. It was really vanilla romance. She was high key obsessing over her capture, but they kissed. I don't remember it going further. They had their moments, but that was it. And then Aaron mentioned his intimacy with Soraya. That was trying to kill Essia. They had their one romantic moment closer to the end of the book, and then next thing you know, she's gone. I don't know. It just got very confusing, and not in a good way. Once again, I was really wanting to get to know more about the character. We really didn't get to do that. It was up and down. The pacing was really odd to me. I don't know. I like the whole magic aspect of it, but something was missing. Even the ending, it was meant to be climatic, but it wasn't. No, I honestly, I don't even think this could have just been a standalone. She could have finished it out with something, instead, because I know it's a series or whatever. But honestly, it could have been written as a standalone and just been done. Because of the ending, I was like, okay, she disappeared, she's gone, and I'm thinking okay, that's it. Even though I know there's gonna be more books, but in my head, it's I don't know if I can continue. Because I wasn't really oh my gosh, what just happened? No, it wasn't that for me. I'm okay. I was just nonchalant about it. And I'm not trying to be critical about this book, and I really wanted to love this. Really wanted to love it. And it's just, there's a lot of improvements that could have been done. And then after I read the book, I realized this was an Illumicrate edition, and the author had written a note. So I also kept that in mind, okay, maybe I can get in the head of the author's mind. So I'll read out loud. It says, "Dear reader, I'm so excited to invite you into the world of the Jasad Heir. I started writing this book in February 2020 while recovering from a health scare and going through the law school application process. I like to tell people that the Jasad Heir is earning its JD alongside me. When I originally drafted the Jasad Heir, my goal was to escape, to build a world full of magic that I could still predict and control. Sylvia was born from my desire to craft a main character who was profoundly, frustratingly human. And what's more human than the urge to flee when the going gets tough? The themes surrounding loyalty, trauma, freedom, and duty came with each revision, layers I built around this original foundation. My objective was to dive into what could make a character like Sylvia, a character who vehemently opposes being a hero, choose to stay instead of run. You might find it odd that I've dedicated this novel to eldest daughters when our protagonist is an only child. I was born the first daughter of 4 children, and the truest belonging I have ever known is to them. Eldest daughters are charged with clearing a path in the dark, so the ones who follow will never have to slay the same monsters. They must be brave enough to take those first steps into the unknown. Every part of the journey feels fraught, and sometimes they become so consumed with paving a path forward, they don't stop to look at the direction they're going. They often show themselves no mercy for a minor detour or the slowest misstep. It is a heavy responsibility, but love for the ones who protect makes it a little easier to carry. So I wanted to know what happens when the responsibility is there, but the love is missing. The beauty of community and the burden of its responsibility is something I've always wanted to explore. The Jasad Heir seeks to understand what we owe to ourselves and what we owe to the people we call ours. Even someone as doggedly solitary as Sylvia can't move through the world alone. It takes bravery to bind yourself to something, be it friends, family, or even a place. I hope by the time you finish reading, you can appreciate all the ways you've been brave. Love and belonging are twined at the heart of this book, the different shapes love can take when it manifests and the permanent ways it lingers. So with love, Sarah Hashem. So I also took into account of what she was going for. But I think as the structure of a book, like I said, there can be improvement. She has room for improvement. This is her debut book, right? So I'm still giving her grace, and I'm still giving the book three out of 5 stars, right? That's still a good rating. But I wanted to know more about this world. I wanted to go deep. Like I wanted to like have flashbacks of where it mentioned like we were getting to know more of like her grandparents and her parents. Like there's a POV for Aaron, the heir of Nizal, but I don't know. It just was very choppy. Um, one thing it would go from one thing to another, and I'm like, wait, what just happened? So I constantly got lost reading this book. Let's see. I didn't mind the vanilla romance though. It was whatever. I was there for the fantasy. Yeah, but I wanted more fantasy. I wanted that high fantasy, right? But it is what it is. Honestly, I don't know what else I could say. Like, have I missed something? Because literally, that how I'm describing the book is how literally the story was formatted. Like, we were going from character to character. I'm like, wait, who is this person again? I know we were introduced, but it was very, it was with haste. Like, we got to know this character, and then that was it. Let me see. I wanted more, but there were aspects of the story appreciated, like the cultural aspect. Right. And I think also we think about, you mentioned Palestine in the readings for us the other day, and how kingdoms are taken over, how kingdoms are overpowered, how, how families are assassinated, right? How people can be threatened by people who, some they may have done some wrong things, and a lot of times a lot of kingdoms they'll come together to overrule another one because they are threatened by that one. I mean, think about the country we live in right now. If they feel threatened by someone or whatever, they're going to do whatever, right? Sometimes it's not even us being attacked. It's mostly like, Ukraine. Ukraine is being attacked by Russia, so we're there to help supply for Ukraine so they can win this war. Because Putin is trying to pretty much take over their country, or at least get pieces of it. Who knows what his main goal is? I think we all have a sense of what he's trying to do. But it just makes you, like you said, appreciate certain things within this book, because it makes you learn about other things, even when this is a fantasy book, but it makes you think of like the bigger picture of life, how either you choose to face your past or you just don't. And sometimes when you don't face your past, it haunts you. And I think that's what was going on with Essia. And that was another reason why I didn't rate it a 2 or anything less than, because I'm like, okay, there's still lessons you can learn within this book that you can understand. Like, if it was me, would I want to face my past, this brutal, dark past, not even knowing what my family was doing behind the scenes, right? Having to survive for 5 years by myself, and to hide my identity, become a whole different person, become Sylvia, and just erase Essia like she never existed, like a piece of her, right? So I liked that aspect of it. I did. I kind of want to hate read it. Hate read it. Don't hate reading. You might like it, right? Like, reading is subjective. I don't hate this book, but I didn't love it, right? So that's why, once again, a 3 out of 5. I didn't give it a 1. I didn't give it a 2. I gave it a 3 out of 5, which that's pretty good rating. Which, once again, there is room for improvement. There always is room for improvement. And I'm not sure when the next book comes out. There hasn't been an announcement or anything that I'm aware of. Let me check Goodreads real quick. Let's see, because it's called The Scorched Throne. But no, there hasn't been any development on the second book. She might take some time, right? And actually think about, how she wants to structure the book. And when I read the letter, the reader's note to you, she was mentioning she was also trying to be a lawyer and lawyer application in the process. So she was doing a lot as she was writing this. So, I'm giving her some grace. Now, am I going to read the second one? That I might, but I don't know. Like right now, probably not, because I wasn't really into the book like I wanted to be. But I don't know. It's up in the air right now. But also how quickly a whole people can disappear. The culture, all aspects of life, right? They all disappear. Yeah. No. Nah. Same. I didn't hate it. I think I'm more disappointed. Yeah. Disappointed in it. Because you could feel and read the greatness of it. It just didn't come through. Yeah. The execution, it wasn't that great. And usually with Orbit, like I feel like they do really well with their editing. So I don't know what happened. I don't know. I really felt like they could have taken some more time with it. The author going deeper into the main character, for us to truly get to know her, right? I feel like it was really just really fast paced, but not like taking the time to getting to know the format of the world, getting to know these characters. It was just a lot. It was just really fast paced. Yes, absolutely. I just really wanted to be in this world. And I think as fantasy readers, we we loved to getting to know the world and the surroundings that the main character's in, and then the main character and having the main character developed, and then we get to introduce to other characters that the main character knows or is affiliated with or whatever. And it just seemed a little bit too a fast pace. If anything, like if the author and Orbit had taken more time with this book and it was even a longer book, like it was more than just how many pages is this? If it was more than just 500 pages, I think there could have been more stuff added in it. I think it would have been great. Like this book isn't bad. It's still good. It has its moments, which once again 3 out of 5. But I think it could have been even better if they took their time with it. Like if it was a longer book, I wouldn't care. I would have still read it because we read long books. We know what fantasy is nothing. Usually fantasy is around maybe 1,000 pages or more. We read all of the Grace of Kings. We read the Dandelion Dynasty, and we know how long that was, and that world was complex, but the structure of it made you want to read even more. And I think that's why we were like yes with it, right? Like when I read the Greenbone Saga by Fonda Lee, amazing. And that was hella characters in that, but the structure was done properly. And what the Greenbone Saga is by Orbit, right? I think so. I think it's by Orbit. But so I might actually read the second one. I might give her a chance and read the second one and see if it's more developed. This book came out last year. There hasn't been an announcement for a book this year, so she may take a year off, and another book may come out in 2025. And I'm going to remain hopeful that Orbit and the author is going to take their time, look at reviews, look at the ratings that people given this first book, and then go from there. And like, okay, what can we do? So I think I'm going to go ahead and read the second one and just give her that chance. Give her that chance and give her that grace, because I feel like the world could be amazing. It just wasn't time for it to be published just yet. Agree. I'm going to read the second book. Right. I'm going to see. You're right. So probably in 2025 the next book is going to come out. I'm assuming. And then we'll see what happens. No, I don't know. You always could just listen to the audio. Just listen to the audio and see if you would like it, but that's about it. I don't like dogging books and stuff like that. I appreciated the story. I appreciated the message it was giving. And I'm looking forward to seeing what the next book is going to be, like how this book ended. I feel like we might even know more about Aaron, and then we're going to get into more about maybe Essia or Sylvia is going to, who knows, maybe she'll embrace Essia, or embrace both of them, embrace Sylvia and herself, and we'll see what happens. Because she was the victor of the trials, and then people were coming for her. So I don't know. The ending was a little choppy, a little weird. It ended abruptly too. So we'll see how the second book will start, and hopefully there'll be a little introduction of something, like a little snippet of what occurred in the first book. That way we'll be reminded. I'm like, oh, okay, this is what happened at the end. All right, now let's go with this second one, right? It's like, girl, bye. Time is precious. It's just we've been spoiled with really great fantasy. Right, right. We've been spoiled. The book is perfect for someone. Oh my god. But yeah, I think that is it. I think that's all that I could say about the Jasad Heir. But I don't want to deter anybody from reading it. I really want people to form their own opinion about it because there's some people that will absolutely love it, and there's some people that just say it wasn't for them. I'm in the mid. I'm like, okay, I loved it, but I can see there's improvement. So I'm gonna read the second one and see how I feel, and then I'll make my final thoughts. But yeah. Do y'all want to do also, as I'm finishing up this discussion, if y'all want to do reading sprints, let me know. I'm thinking of at least doing a maybe 2 hour sprint tonight because I want to read some more of Lore of the Wilds. But let me know in the comments. It probably won't be as long of a sprint. It might end maybe like at 11 because my grandmother's funeral is in the morning. And honestly, I'm just trying to keep myself distracted. So I think that's why I want to have some sprints tonight. But I'm not, maybe somebody else might be having sprints. So hold on. I don't want to step on anybody's toes if they are already doing sprints. Because I feel like somebody does sprints on Thursdays. But, oh, okay. Courtney's just ended. Because I was like, okay, Courtney does reading sprints. Okay. So yeah, I'm thinking about doing reading sprints. Sure, just started watching. Oh, yes! Yes! Oh my god, Dune is so freaking good. And the book, oh my god, it's good. I still have to read the next books in the series, but oh my god, Brie. So good. So good. All right, so I'm gonna end this. I'm gonna probably schedule some reading sprints. I will send a link to everybody that would like to join. Thank you all for joining this live discussion. I hope you enjoyed this little rant and just talking about this book and just seeing like there's room for improvement and that I will be continuing on reading the next one just to see where it goes. But once again, thank you so much, everyone. I will catch y'all in the sprints. All right. Bye, everyone.